I'm so excited to welcome you all to our first video episode of a European PropTech view. This is our first session of many to come across Europe. Our first session will be focusing on France, which is one of the biggest and fastest growing PropTech ecosystems in Europe. You are all at the forefront of the PropTech movements in France, and it's great to have you all part of this session. I'd love to hand over the mic for an intro of you all. Jade, why don't you go first and introduce yourself and your PropTech?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Jade, co-founder and COO of WeMaintain. So what WeMaintain is, it's the end-to-end solution for building operation. So basically, we keep talking about the real estate, the PropTech, but if you look at the real estate, one of the big issues is that building operations are broken. So basically, you have equipment not working, such as lift, fire safety, escalators. And so what we do is that we use the tech to transform that market and to make sure that you have asset owners and property managers having like equipment working, great quality on their asset, and also all the information and the data that they need. So we launched in Paris 3 years ago, 3 years and a half ago, and now we are in London and Singapore. We are we're just 110 employees. What else can I say? And we've raised about 40 million euros. This
amazing. That's a great achievement. Very exciting, very interesting. I look forward to hearing more about you and WeMaintain. I'm handing over to Vincent at this stage. Introduce yourself, please, and your PropTech.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me at this event. I'm Vincent Bryant, the co-founder and CEO of Deepki. Deepki is a 150-person SaaS company operating in 38 countries, whose job is to accelerate real estate transition towards net zero and sustainability thanks to ESG and data. There is a climate change. There's no longer a maybe assumption now. We all need to take our responsibility, and real estate industry stands for 40% of the CO2 emissions.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely an area that we see growing amongst our clients as well. Very important topic, a topic that no one can ignore anymore. So great to see Deepki has a solution that is very well adopted by the market as well. And last but not least, Thibault, great to have you as well with us. Please tell us a little bit more about you and your company.
Yes, happy to do that. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. So I'm Thibault, I'm the CEO of Meilleurs Agents. Meilleurs Agents is no more a startup, more a scale-up, I would say now. And more of that, we've just been acquired by the German group Axel Springer 2 years ago. So we're a company of 400 people, created in 2008. So quite old now for a startup, but still we were the first ones to provide individuals in France with real estate online estimations. So what we basically do is that we provide individuals who have a real estate project with state-of-the-art information on prices and on professionals to help them succeed in their real estate project. We basically put them in touch with the best professionals to help them realize their real estate project.
Excellent. Also very interesting, obviously great to see how you're already further along in the business cycle. As you said, you've been acquired by Axel Springer. I'm sure we will see more of that in the years to come happening across Europe. You're very early and obviously very, very successful already. At this stage, again, you're all sort of at different stages in the business cycle, and you also all focus on very different verticals of PropTech. This session, like I said, is supposed to focus on, French PropTech specifically. So tell me a little bit, all of you, about your view on French PropTech, how the market is going, and also how you've been experiencing the response in the market to your products or services so far.
I can start because we've just been on the real estate new technology trade fair. It was called Rent those last 2 days, and to me it was amazing to see how many new startups there were in this PropTech ecosystem. when we launched Meilleurs Agents 13 years ago, I joined myself 12 years ago. PropTech didn't exist at all. And those kinds of trade fair didn't exist neither. And so now it's really cool to see how many new startups are coming to help, this real estate industry evolve in the new digital era. And I'm very pleased to see that. And when we look at the amount of funds that have been raised over the past years, I think it was €500 million last year. It's just amazing. And I'm really thrilled to see this whole ecosystem, evolve in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely everything you're saying, we can see from a recruitment point as well. I mean, the amount, especially in France, the amount of activity that is going on is really exciting. And yeah, there's a lot of funding flowing into the market as well. Jade, what's your view on French PropTech?
So I really agree with Thibault. Like, we can feel it's super active in a way that we have like real estate events. Some of them actually focus on the startups, and then even now, like in all, like the really big events such as the MIPIM, Expo Real, you always have like a place somewhere where the startups can be seen. You have this innovation corner where actually like people come to see startups, and it's pretty busy actually. Also in terms of investments. So you have so many VCs funds now. They do have like a real estate practice, like PropTech practice, just to make sure like they won't lose any opportunity. So I guess Vincent and Thibault, they also receive a lot of phone calls from the fund asking like, do you know like any startups which is entering the market and is looking for investment? And also more projects. Sure, same. I'm sure you receive some emails where people say, hey, I'd like to launch my startup in the real estate and I'd like to have some advice. And like I started like 4 years ago. It was not like that. We were only a very few. People didn't really like the word startup. Now it's really okay to talk about startups, to talk about technology. So I think this is great. I mean, it's people see the value of having startups in the industry. So that's pretty exciting, I'll say.
Definitely. Again, I've been working at LMRE for about 18 months now, and even just the shift in mindset I can see amongst candidates across Europe in that time period has been tremendous. France in particular really stands out as a market that's for us very good to recruit in, I always say, because we find the French candidates really are very open-minded to the startup ecosystem in comparison to other markets like maybe Germany that are still a little bit more traditional. We definitely get more resistance. But without drifting too far off topic, Vincent, what's your sort of view on the French PropTech market? And then also, what are your predictions for the next 5 years to come? Where do you think things will be going?
I don't know, Dilan, if you are looking for a little bit of debate, but it will be hard because I totally agree with what Thibault and Jade just said. Actually, this is a hectic market. And just to share a couple of additional examples regarding the dynamics on the market, especially in France, it's clearly we start seeing, significant companies, not anymore startups, going towards scale-ups or even now established companies with a significant amount of either ARR or revenue. And now we're talking not only about millions, but dozens of millions of euros. And this is something very different if we compare to several years ago, for instance. So this is one clear example. Another example is, and I can take our own growth. It's amazing how the market evolved lately. I think that there are two main transitions within this industry, the real estate industry. It's the digital transition and the ESG transition. And we see that actually since 2020, our growth speeded up, which is usually not the case. The more you grow, the less the speed is important, and now it's the opposite. And I think because there was there would have been before and after 2020. The COVID crisis definitely changed habits in this industry, which was a little bit old-fashioned, we have to say. And now we see more and more innovation, but not only innovation nice to have, cherry on the cake you put on a couple of buildings, but innovations you want to definitely roll out over the whole market. And clearly this is a huge difference if we compare before 2020, for instance. In France, when you look at one of the transitions I know the most, which is ESG, if you look at the 2050 building stocks, actually already 80% of the building stock already exists. And this is very different from other countries, especially emerging countries or very fast developing countries where everything needs to be built. In France, we have a building stock which is here, and maybe it's not enough, but still this is it, it's here. And everything regarding the improvement of this building from a service point of view, from an environmental point of view, from a value addition point of view, it's clearly something that could become a smash hit within the industry in the following years.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vincent. Very, very interesting. I can totally mirror everything you're saying. I mean, I've been in real estate now, give or take 10 years. I lived in the UK for 12, so I started now maybe 8 years ago, so in PropTech, and that was in the UK. It was definitely very early stage. My God, we experienced so much resistance to PropTech solutions in the market, and we can see such a big change since then. And like you say, especially COVID has accelerated the shift in mindset, and I think it's a very, very ripe market now for innovation. And obviously you're all experiencing that, we're experiencing that on a recruitment side, and it's the right time for these things to happen in PropTech. So another question for you all then is, given the timing and everything else where we're finding ourselves now, what opportunities do you see specifically in France for PropTech? Again, maybe I'll start with you, Jade.
Sure. So there is one that I see right now, but it's maybe related to also the part of the industry where we operate, is the blockchain. I think people, it sounds a bit cliche actually to say that, but it's just because like in the real estate, so now we start talking about like having data, like which is actually a bit new. Before like 2020, I think it was just trendy to say that, but now people, they really want to get the data to better operate, manage, understand what's going on in their buildings. But something that nobody is really sure about is the quality of the data, the level of transparency people can get. So I think I think there is a huge opportunity for blockchain because it actually answers this kind of like concern that people can have. You want to make sure like you have full trust actually on the data you get, and blockchain is one of the solutions. So, but it's a bit, I think that's an opportunity on the long run. So it will come. If today you come with blockchain that you sell, I mean, for sure it's going to take some time. But that's one of the major opportunities that I see in France, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. No, interesting point. There's actually one global association, I forgot their name, but they do focus on blockchain and real estate to exactly solve that problem. So I agree, there's definitely an opportunity there. What about you, Thibault? What do you see as an opportunity in France?
Well, I see many of them, but just to circle back with what Jade had just said, I fully agree with the blockchain. And something I really love about the blockchain is the ability for people, and this is one usage of the blockchain, is to allow everyone, to invest in real estate. Because with blockchain, you'll be able to create, and there are already a few startups or a few companies that allow people, to invest in real estate while, buying only a few tokens of a particular building. And it's not only, only for rich people or wealthy people. Now, I think this is a really, really good output of what the blockchain can do in the real estate area. and I really love these things. I just really wanted to share that. Another thing I could share with you is that after the COVID crisis, we run a study with Meilleurs Agents, with a company called Harris Interactive, specialized in those studies, to just check what were the different behaviors of the players in the real estate industry. I'm talking about the real estate transactions, you know, the one we're working on, which means buying and selling a property. And in this specific domain, what we've seen is that most of the people and individuals confirmed that they were using more and more digital tools ahead of their real estate projects, that it's taking 9 months, you know, before starting their project, before even selling the project, starting the sale of their property. They spend 9 months on the internet, you know, using estimation tools, looking for information on professionals, on real estate prices, on new properties that they could buy, you know, once they will sell their house. And with that, I think an evolution of the role of the professionals is what we call in France. I don't know if it looks like an English word, but I don't think it's an English word. It's a phygital. It's something like a click and mortar. I would say click and mortar strategy, saying phygital is contraction for physical and digital. So this looks like an English word, but I guess it's a really French word. And so this phygital world, like we say to our customers, is their ability to make their own way of work evolve into both the digital worlds and the digital world and the physical world, saying that they need to use digital tools to get in touch and to create strong bonds with individuals on the internet, then also in the physical world, because you have to create trust to be able to accompany individuals in their real estate project. Because in France, 1 individual out of 2 will try to sell his property by himself or herself. And in the end, only 3 out of 10 will really succeed in doing that. That means in the meantime, you know, they will finally get turned to a professional to realize the sale. Hence the importance to create bonds and trust at the very beginning of their project in the digital world.
Very interesting. Sounds like a great opportunity for Meilleurs Agents.
Yes, Meilleurs Agents and many other startups who are just launching right now. So that's cool.
Very good. Very interesting. And what about Vincent? What do you see as opportunities in France?
Yeah, actually, there are several opportunities, I guess, especially in the residential industry, residential real estate industry. However, the one I know the most is clearly the one related to climate change and the fact that, again, you know, in France, 1/3 of the CO2 emissions comes from the buildings, and this is both an opportunity to create employment, to create innovations, to create economical activity, but also it's a threat, and we need to do something about it, and very quickly. The good thing is, I would say that the companies, world, and local authorities understood that they have to tackle the issue. So especially all the tertiary buildings, including commercial real estate, including, you know, warehouses and so on, are keen on improving the performance of their buildings, of their assets. However, the residential industry, it's still a little bit late on this topic, and a couple of measures were about to be accepted in the new climate law in France, but unfortunately at the end they weren't. And here there is, I think, a huge space of innovation and solutions to build in order to help this industry and this particular types of assets, resi, to become more performing from an ESG point of view, and especially from a climate change point of view. And I think that the digital solution and the digital innovations are clearly one of the solutions that can help this industry become a more, I would say, environmental friendly industry.
Excellent. This is what I love working in the PropTech or startup space. You know, there's never a lack of ideas, creativity, or innovation of solutions that could still be adopted. So it's very exciting to hear everything that you've mentioned. And then Jade, obviously the flip coin of that is, there are always some challenges, no matter what market you work in. What about France? What are, some of the challenges that maybe you've come across in growing your PropTech to date?
So actually still one big challenge, because what's interesting also is that we're starting in Paris. Now we also, we opened London about like 18 months ago, and we opened Singapore 6 months ago. So we can actually compare the different markets. And one thing that I see in France is that like people are used to do things on a certain way, and it's sometimes really hard for them to accept it can change. Where in London, it's different. Like people, if they're not satisfied, they will switch if they have an option. But in when we entered the market, so basically when we started offering new solution for lift maintenance, we came to the customers saying like, we are that new solution making your life easier. And I'm not here to sell WeMaintain, but just it took them some time to realize they could actually change. And so that was the decision-making processes are really long. So that's something, now you have more investment in startups, in PropTechs, so they can survive. But at the beginning, you're like, wait, if everyone takes like 12 months to decide, and I'm not having like any new contract, like how can the company survive? That's also about that, So now they kind of get it. Also something that it's new, like 3 years ago, you used to have like someone called like head of innovation. And if you were in startup, people would say, oh, you can go and talk to that person because he's in charge of startups. And like, oh, yes, but the value proposition is not only for the head of innovation, it's just for everyone, for instance, who was dealing with lift maintenance in my case. And you had that kind of conflict where like people operating, they were not sure. And then the head of innovation was not actually the one who will be using the solution. But now I think like most market, I would say like real estate leaders, they really took that, the topic of innovation, and they made sure that people are a bit more open. So yes, that's one of the biggest challenge we've had at the beginning. We sometimes still have, actually. It's just the decision-making process are very long. People are pretty risk adverse. So it's all about the mindset that needs to be changed. But somehow the crisis that we've had was a great opportunity, because it actually proved to everyone that all of a sudden things can change, and you need to adapt, and you need to change, and you need to find new solutions. So, I mean, we saw it in our business. People were just like, oh, no, I cannot even go on my building, so I need to operate them. So I need to have information, I need to have transparency, I want to monitor them. And we were the only one offering that. But it took some time for them. And somehow, hopefully, we had that crisis.
Yes, yeah. I mean, in a way, this again, it definitely echoes what I hear from the client base across Europe. It's been a once in a lifetime opportunity to accelerate that shift in mindset, and that mindset really is, I don't want to say number one, but probably, yeah, one of the biggest obstacles. It has been one of the biggest obstacles to growth. Again, real estate is one of the oldest industries in the world, has some very established mindsets and ways of operating. And then for startups, anyways, the whole concept of a startup is somewhat new in Europe, right? It's further advanced or more mature in the US, but in Europe it was a new concept. So it definitely took some time for the market to be open for that change to happen. So a number of you, or maybe all of you, have actually already also breached upon the topic of fundraising. So again, I've seen a lot of changes happening over the past 18 months. More money coming into the PropTech ecosystem. the funds themselves raising more monies from LPs and being able to increase their ticket sizes. I mean, again, for you, Thibault, Meilleurs Agents, again, you know, you're definitely not our typical startup anymore. You're a scale up, or maybe you're already beyond that. So you definitely have raised a lot of money before this trend now is happening. But when we started 18 months ago, some of the bigger ticket sizes were 1 million, right? Versus now we see 10 million, 20, 30 million. So tell us a little bit more. I'm sure a lot of our viewers would be very interested in finding more about that. What has the fundraising process been like for you in France from sort of when you first started to also now? Vincent, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, indeed, there is a big change in the market lately, and we see that there are more and more opportunities to be funded by significant pockets. You know, one of the issues in the fundraising industry, I would say, VC industry in France, it was great to have seeds investment or A series investment, but when you talk about C series or D series, there were no money in France. So most of the company used to go abroad to get more money, and maybe it's your case, to Thibault, but actually this is not the case anymore in France. Now you can fund your company with only French actors, and it's very, very different. In our case, we raised twice, but it was in 2016 and 2019. It went very well. It was 2.5 and 8 point something million euros, so it was great. But now we are preparing a new fundraising. We'll see how the market changed, because clearly we feel the difference in this new fundraising preparation compared to 2016 and 2019. And I think that this is a great opportunity, because we not only have good ideas, also very well-trained people, but also this willingness to grow, and to grow quickly, and to expand abroad. And I think that we have here in this country all the components to build great companies. All the more as I can compare to several countries where we work now, and clearly we are very, very lucky in France, you know, because you have so many subsidies, organizations to help you. If I take our example with my co-founder, Emmanuel, and I, we started in 2014 during 1 year and several months. We've been paid by the French government to create our company. Okay, it wasn't our full salary, but still, and it allowed us to hire people more quickly, and it's very, very powerful. So yeah, very happy to be here, and very happy now to expand intentionally.
Yeah, great to hear. Now we can definitely see France is a great market for startups or PropTechs to start and also to expand with. So to expand into, a lot of our clients definitely want to come to France. What about you, Jade? How have you experienced the fundraising process at WeMaintain?
So we raised 3 times. The first time was beginning of 2018, 1.8 million. Then mid 2019, 7 million. And we just raised our Series B this summer, 30 million. What I can
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. What I can feel is that you have investors that now they understand the PropTech, they do believe in it. Because at the very beginning, like I would say like 2-3 years ago, they were a bit reluctant, saying like, do you really think that the real estate players will be able to move because they're so big, so established? Now, again, I think the COVID somehow helped a little bit. They see that things are changing. So you have, that's great. I mean, you have real estate players, they now believe in technology, and now you have investors believing that the real estate is changing. So we all align in some way. And before we had to somehow educate the investors to explain the real estate, how it's working. Now they understand, they know that market, especially, you don't have like that, because we're not that many on the market, the startups. So when you're maybe was the case for you, both of you actually, when you went and you talked to investors, they had somehow no idea. Like me, I received some question like because just they didn't know how it worked, so they kept relating to themselves somehow as an individuals, where like me, for instance, I work with asset owners, like the really big one, like banks, insurances. I work with property management companies, again, like really, really big one. And they kept referring to themselves. For instance, for me, they kept referring to their lifts. I was like, not really. I mean, if you take, like, for instance, Allianz Real Estate, they have 150 buildings. So I'd rather talk to them than talking to you, if I want to sell my solution. But now they understand it. So this is great. You have more LPs. And what's great also is that you have VCs that really believe that you can go abroad and you can expand. That's why, for instance, in the Series B, we look for funds that will help us in the US. And we found people so we had this new fund who just joined us, Red River West, and that's their thesis, like taking French entrepreneurs and making sure they can succeed in the US. So yeah, you have more people, they're ready, they believe in the market, they understand your solution. That's something also now investors, they really look at the technology, which was not really the case before. So they'll talk to the CTO, they'll try to understand how your product works. So yeah, I think it's all super positive, to be honest.
Amazing. Yeah, really interesting. And from my side, obviously also congrats on the most recent raise. That's truly an achievement. And also very exciting to hear that you're looking US side. We get a lot of clients from the US trying to enter the European market. PropTech is sort of a few years behind in Europe in comparison to US. So it's really, really exciting, right? Just so great to see some of the European players also making their way to the other side, so the other way around. So we will definitely be watching that space. And then Thibault, what about you? Again, you have, one of the older PropTechs, one of the more established ones. You've gone through an acquisition. So tell us about that. And you said you've been with Meilleurs Agents, almost from the very beginning. So tell us, what has the fundraising process been like back then, and what changes have you seen over that time frame, and in particular also in France?
I feel quite old now. I'm the dinosaur in the room. But yeah, that's been a hell of a journey, because when the founders launched Meilleurs Agents, it was first the first raised money. It was kind of love money with their own personal networks. So the first rounds went quite well. And then when I joined the company myself, I said, okay, I'm joining a startup. Okay, cool. At that time, it wasn't that sexy to join a startup, by the way. But on top of that, it was a startup in the real estate industry. And those two words, startup and real estate, they could not coexist. It was just unbelievable. So when we had to go, yes.
That's why now it's called PropTech.
Exactly. But PropTech unfortunately exists for only a couple of years now, maybe 3-4 years, I would say. But unfortunately, it didn't exist at that time. You're right, and it has proved quite complicated, to raise funds over the first years of Meilleurs Agents, especially since it took us 6 years to really find our business model. So difficult. What helped us is that we really launched the company based on data and the use of data to provide individuals with very reliable information. And so this was something that could be understood by VCs at that time. But still, the rounds were quite small compared with the ones we see today. In our overall cycle before being sold or acquired by Axel Springer, we raised a total of 13 million euros only, But I think that's also because the real estate market, especially in the transaction market, is a real deep market that doesn't for which we don't need, when you're a startup in this industry, to go especially abroad. I think Deepki and WeMaintain, you're one of the very few startups who are going abroad, and that's just amazing what you're doing. So that's really cool. But to be honest, most of the startups in the such digital platforms like Meilleurs Agents are really just stayed at a national scale. Even the big ones that you see abroad, and even if you look in the US, because when we launched the startup we were looking at was Zillow. No longer a startup, I would say, but even Zillow, you know, they're still just in the US. Okay, the US is just a big market, but even if you look at in the UK, Zoopla and other later startups that have just launched over the past years, most of them they only stayed in their rural, you know, domestic market, and so that's why I think at that time did not need to raise a lot of money, but still. That's also because there was not a lot of money, you know, to get. And now there are new business models that also need more equity, such as the iBuying solutions and all those players, you know, who really need a lot of money. And hopefully there is some, so that it allows more and more new models, whether it be, I would say, international models, like WeMaintain and Deepki, but also models that need a lot of equity, and that's cool because now we have this money, and so it is really it paves the way, you know, for more and more startups being able to innovate in this world. So I think that's really cool to see that. But at back in our times, that was quite complicated. That's true, and hopefully, and what you said also, Vincent, is true, is that when we finally sold the company, initially that should have been another round and not the sale of the company. So it ended up with the company being sold to Axel Springer. But we were looking for new funds for just a fund to accompany us in the evolution of Meilleurs Agents. And at that time, there was no French fund that could help us, and we were only talking to international funds, unfortunately. But now it's no longer the case, and that's also really good news.
Yeah, very interesting. Sounds like quite a journey indeed, Thibault. And it's true. I mean, again, the PropTech VC space in Europe is so young. I think in France now we have Axeleo, who is a PropTech specific fund. Yeah. But again, them as well, they're a few years old. So you were definitely there before them. So yeah, it's insightful to hear about how you went about growing the business or taking it to the next level and raising those funds for you. So I appreciate we're all pressed for time. So I'm going to try and make the next section quite short. But of course, once you've raised your funds, the next topic then for every PropTech is talent. So you need people to take your business to the next stage. How have you gone about attracting talent to Deepki, Vincent?
That's a very good question. First, we try to use different means. We try to use word of mouth from our existing teams, and it's very efficient. And I have to say that I think this is the first way of hiring the company. But second, you need to find amazing headhunters as well to help you find the right people at the right place. And what we try to show to make the company more attractive, it's not only to say that the company is an hyper-growth company, so there is many opportunities internally and so on, but also to show that the company is at the crossroads of two important industry, PropTech and climate tech. And I think the most important thing is we try to create an environment internally that people outside can feel, where we show that working within our company, it's finding also meaning at work, you know, and try to spend our time at work for something that is useful and meaningful. And this is one of our key arguments to convince people to join us. But it's not easy because there are so many companies, amazing companies, very attractive companies. And I have to say that more and more what we do is we not only hire people with regular profiles based in Paris and so on, but we try to find more diversified profiles, especially people, you know, having different nationalities, different background, not always big commercial schools or big engineering schools, but also self-made men and women. And what I start feeling, and I'm very proud to see that we start hiring people who are key people within the industry. Lately, thanks to a very good headhunter, we hire the C-level position, someone from a C-level position in WeWork in Germany, and we start, you know, having very, very high level people joining the company. And this is for me a key factor of success, is to see who is joining the company now.
Excellent. Yeah, we briefly had a chat before the recording started about your workforce, and we were looking at all your country managers, and clearly you've done a great job at attracting great people, because you have some really, really great country managers in place now. Jade, what about you? What has been sort of challenging for you in France and maybe beyond in attracting the right talent that takes you to the next level?
I think the biggest challenge we've had is actually ourselves. I mean, the team at WeMaintain, I think we're really strict on the way we deal with the values of the company. We take it like really seriously. So we want to make sure when we hire people that they'll match our values and they really embrace, I mean, the values we've defined all together. So it takes time. I mean, first it takes time to find the right people, the right candidates, sorry. Then it's time we take a lot of time just to have interviews to make sure they will meet. So in our team, we have people with very diverse background. We have people, they are lift engineers, we have software developers, we have sales, marketing, I mean, like from different countries, ages. And we want the candidates to feel that during the hiring process. So the challenge is that we take time, and the other challenge I'll say is that you have a big competition on the market. I wouldn't say PropTech, but usually, you know, all this like big, like all these French unicorns, because I think now we have 19 unicorns in France. And they've raised a lot of money, like some of them 600 million. I mean, it's just crazy. And when you're competing with that, you have to make sure like people on your team, they have the right values, they believe in the mission, and then actually they, as Vincent say, they are the one, your people are actually the one hiring for you. So at WeMaintain, we had a lot of referrals, just people say, oh, I have this friend who's not really satisfied, it would be a great match. And usually that's a great match. And it's easy to convince the candidate. So competition, I think, ourselves, I'd say, at WeMaintain, plus the challenge of the competition. Yes.
Good. Well, with 30 million in the most recent raise, you know, that's going in the right direction. So I'm sure you can attract really fabulous candidates, and you also already have a great workforce. So it definitely helps if people know each other or people refer people, because if you have good people, they will attract and recommend good people. And then one of my last questions, Thibault, what about you? Again, you know, you're one of the more established companies here, or in French PropTech generally. At this stage, your company culture will be more defined. So what is your company culture like? And what do you generally look for when attracting key hires to your team?
Well, what both of you just said, basically the three of you just said, is that it's quite complicated at the very beginning, you know, to put together all those different profiles with different backgrounds and people who want to to achieve a very ambitious goal with a very with specificities, know-hows, and expertise that are very different. And basically, that's something really strong at Meilleurs Agents, our culture, and it's based on a book called The Dolphin Strategy. It's a book that is written by two American researchers, Paul Cordis and Dudley Lynch, and those two guys, basically what they said is that and to sum it up really quickly, the dolphins in the way they're described in the book are just acting as a group, and so we're working all together to achieve a real ambitious goal that individually you could not reach. And what's important is that it's okay to make mistakes. You work collectively, so there is no ego in the company, no politics. And what we basically want is for you to know your role within the company, within the group, and so to know the purpose of your work and to know why you're doing that, and we'll help you do it the best way we can and the best way you can, so that it can fulfill your own I would say individual goal in your career at that time. When you join a company, sometimes I use a parallel with a park, saying your tree or plant, and we want our company to be the park where you'll find the best spot for you to expand yourself, to expand your branches. And it can be, near a pond, close to another tree, in full light, in the shade. I don't know. We want to be the park where you'll have all those different places and you'll find the best one for you to be able, to evolve, to grow, and to grow professionally. And Meilleurs Agents and our culture is really strong about that, and is really looking forward to be both really demanding but also really caring.
I mean, as a recruiter, I really love that metaphor. After this session, I could imagine whoever watches this, all the companies will be using it, because there probably isn't anything more fitting than that metaphor. So on that note, again, I appreciate we're all pressed for time, so we'll try and wrap things up. But obviously, last question everyone wants to know is, what are your plans for the rest of 2021 and for 2022 to come? Jade, let's start with you again.
Yeah, so the plan is hiring, expanding in new countries, expanding in new verticals. So we started with lift, now we do fire and safety, escalators, doors. We want to target HVAC also. Keep growing. I think having the same ambition. I really like the dolphin strategy. I think I'm gonna read it. Make sure at some point you become the leader in the market. I think it's all about that, So I wouldn't say like number one, because I think it's a bit old-fashioned, but that you can actually really transform your industry. I think is just great. And as founders, this is what we want. So that's the plan for yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the rest of WeMaintain's life, actually.
Excellent. Well, like I said, we will be closely watching that space, Jade. What about you, Vincent? What are your plans for the rest of the year and the year to come?
Let's be original a little bit. Hiring, expanding abroad, and hiring. And actually, I would add just an example, because I love the Delphine book. I will read it. Thank you. And actually, I have one that comes to my mind. It's this book from Vinit Iyer about employees first, customers second. And actually, I was very pleased when I read it to figure out that many of the things he mentioned, we try to implement them, but there are so many we still need to implement. So one of the key points for end of 21, 22 will be to implement and take care of new measures and take care about our very dedicated teams, because at the end, if we want to have happy customers, we need to have fulfilling and enjoying teams.
100%. What a great goal. And again, for me, working in HR, That is definitely true. I say this time and time again. You can have the best idea, you can have raised the most amount of money, but if your people aren't bought in, if they aren't as passionate as you, and if you don't look after your people, then nothing will happen to your vision. So that's, yeah, fantastic goal. And then Thibault, again, last but not least, what about you? Again, Meilleurs Agents, you've already achieved so much. You've achieved, you know, what a lot of our PropTechs in their early phases are dreaming of or are striving for. What about you? What are your plans for the rest of the year in 2022?
Yeah, so I would say that it's true that we're here for 13 years now, but we're still growing a lot. And you know, we only found our business model, I would say 5 years ago, and hopefully still having like a 35% growth, you know, still after 13 years. So that's quite cool. So we're still hiring, but probably less than what we used to. We're already 400 and now reaching a good size. But I would say since we've been acquired by Axel Springer, our main priority now is to be able to share our expertise and know-how, especially the way we've developed estimation tools, price maps, and also the way we are launching products that allow professionals to be visible in front of individuals who want to sell. We are sharing those products and launching those products in the other platforms of the group. We belong to the Aviv group, which is the subsidiary of Axel Springer that gathers all the platforms, all the real estate platforms, and most of them are classified platforms. So they started their own, I would say, seller business, those things being able to provide professionals with seller leads. But what we do is something that goes beyond that, and we're sharing all of that with them. We started that 2 years ago, and we have already still a lot of work to do regarding this kind of internationalization of Meilleurs Agents as well, I would say.
Fantastic. Really great to hear everyone's goals, ambitious plans for the next year and the years to come. So of course, I wish you all the best. I have no doubt you'll all achieve your goals and go beyond. And with that, it's a wrap to our first session with the focus on France. I am so pleased and so happy you were able to join us. Thank you so much for your time and your great input. I hope all our viewers enjoyed it as much as me. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you all in the not so distant future.
Thank you, Dilan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, this is, you know, very casual, right? If we need to stop at any moment, or if you want to start fresh with an answer, that is not a problem at all. That's the beauty of having these pre-recorded videos. Grace can do her magic afterwards and edit it if needs be. From my side, obviously, it's really great to meet you all. Or to be reacquainted again, Vincent. We've exchanged some emails, but obviously this is a lot better. I know how busy you all are, so we really, really appreciate you taking your time and doing this with us. And we really hope it's a great opportunity for everyone and for the wider French PropTech market as well to listen in. So we'll get started in a few seconds. Grace, I'll count down unless any of you still have any questions for me.
Just how long will it be?
We'll try and keep it as short as possible, right? I mean, if you all sort of are quite precise with your answers, obviously great. Again, I appreciate you're all busy. We will try and keep it to, 30 minutes, 40 max. I think anything beyond that for listeners as well will probably be too long.
Sure. Good.
Wonderful. Okay. 3, 2, 1.